Welcome to EE Tavern Brawl. So this was part of update 28. Been a while since I've done a quest video with Ginger where it's just me and sort of doing it in real time where I made the video and I'm gonna upload it, within a couple of days. I think the last time I did a quest video with Ginger was sort of part of the Voodoo Warlock series, just as like a comparison video, and I think it got uploaded like two months after I actually made it. So this one's closer to real time, and the Voodoo series, by the way, is winding down. So it's gonna end up being my longest series, and I've got just uploaded episode 24 today. Yeah, I just made episode 28 last night. I'm gonna do, I think, probably 2 more videos. So 5 or 6 videos left in the series. And then maybe do something with Gnome after that when that comes out. Alright, so let's talk about some gear choices that I made for this tune. The level cap is 30 now, and I'm pretty happy. I got 190 AC. Of course, I got a couple temporary ship buffs up there, the 1 hour one, so I don't normally walk around with 190. I usually walk around with 188 just because I'm too lazy to get those lower ship buffs. And 193 PRR, and that has potential to get 20 higher with the new feat. Still struggling to remember the names of all these new feats. Deific warding, so when you get hit, you start stacking up more MRR and PRR. Pretty neat. I also have Burst of Glacial Wrath right now, and I'm just experimenting with that. I just got done doing the video where I was experimenting with Master of the Wilds, and if you didn't see that, I don't really feel like that's a good feat choice for Druid. Hopefully they'll make some changes, either the way caster level is calculated or something. It's just, if you're in a Primal Destiny, it is definitely better than if you're not in a Primal Destiny, but even still, at least for me, I didn't think it was worth it. But the choices I make are a little bit different than the choices that I think a lot of people make. So I got 1 piece of random loot right now. Wisdom 14 goggles with Insightful Evocation 2. And so that replaced what I had before, which was the Visions of Precision that had Wisdom 12 and Insightful Wisdom 4. But I've just slotted Insightful Wisdom 2, so I have Wisdom 14, Insightful Wisdom 2. That's still 16 Wisdom, so that's just a zero-sum game there. But the random generated goggles have Insightful Evocation 2, so that's 2 more to like my Earthquake DC. So that's really cool, and I'd love to find like that same set of goggles with like Insightful Wisdom plus 6 on it as a bonus, or maybe even Wisdom 15 with Insightful Wisdom 6. That would be ideal, at least right now. We'll see. Because I've seen a lot of items with Insightful Wisdom 6 on it, but trying to find just the right combination is, may be challenging. I'm still rocking the heavy armor, the Shadow Dragon scale with the awesome DR, but there is such an awesome set of armor that came out with update 29, and it's called the Scale Mail of the Celestial Sage. It's cut off there at the top, and it's medium armor. So there's some interesting things here. There's lots of goodies on here. More goodies on here than there are on the heavy stuff. So let's talk about that. What do we got? Quality Reflex plus 2. Well, that's kind of cool. Quality Potency plus 27. That's kind of neat. Sheltering 38. Hey, I can ditch the Sightless if I can switch to that, because Sightless only has 35. I mean, there's lots of stuff on Sightless, but really what this is about, and I was on DDO cast the other day. Last weekend was a year in review, and one of the things I was saying when I was talking about the randomly generated loot system that's out right now, and how a lot of raid gear can be replaced, and somebody was saying, well, raid loot has a lot more stuff on it, so this is a really good example. This has a lot more stuff on it, but my point was that for a lot of people, a lot of the gear that they're using, it's just like 1 or 2 things on that piece of raid loot that they want. And that's not true for every piece of gear and not true for everybody, but for me, just as an example, I have this Sightless because it has Sheltering 35 and Constitution plus 12, and at the time that was the highest con and sheltering item in the game. I don't care about range power or melee power. The death block I've got Death Ward, I can slot Death Block. True Sing, I don't care about that. And the slots, I got slots everywhere, everybody does. So it's really about the sheltering and the constitution. So, if I have the sheltering here and it's higher, then really I just have this for the con, and I can get, they got con 15 randomly generated stuff now. So I get like con 15 on the helm and something else too. Maybe a slot. So, these are the kinds of choices that we have to consider with this new loot system, and those sort of some of the way we have to look at it. With all of our loot, a lot of it has lots of goodies on it, and some of it is just less important than others. So what else do we have? Parrying 7, I think that's the highest in the game right now. So that would be really nice to have that on the armor. Blurry, well, that's redundant, doesn't stack with the concealment. That's the 25% concealment in the belt of braided beards, which there's another piece. I mean, that's the only reason I have that belt. Intelligence plus 12, okay, that's kind of nice. Couple slots. Elemental resistance. That's really about the mischance. Spell resistance 35 at level 30. That doesn't mean anything, as far as I know. So Death Block, couple slots. Mythic Armor Boost, that can be up to plus 4, so that could be potentially another 4 PRR and MRR. So here's my recommendation if you're a caster druid, is that this is definitely the armor you want, unless you're interested in being like as tanky as possible, which is where I'm at. And this is a decision that I'm struggling with, because you can actually get higher PRR and MRR with the medium. And the way that you do that is you can drop heavy armor proficiency, freeing up a feat slot. You take the medium armor, you're already proficient with it, and you replace heavy armor proficiency with like the epic feat called damage reduction, which gives you another 10 PRR and I think MRR too. So you actually have a net gain of PRR and MRR. The AC stays the same. I'm going to show you. AC 190, PRR 193, and MRR 190 or 91. So equipping that. So armor class, PRR, armor class stayed exactly the same. PRR went down a little bit, but that's because, like I said, what you would want to do is just get rid of the heavy armor feat, replace it with damage reduction feat, and then that actually goes up by another 10, so then it's a net gain. So what I really lose is the damage reduction, the 30-60 damage reduction, which for me is pretty huge. If you're surrounded by mobs and you're getting hit by every one of them and you're pulling 30 or 60 damage off the top of every one of those hits, that's pretty huge. I probably should do a little bit more testing. But this is my quandary right now. I also don't have any other place to get Ghostly from. Now I could get rid of this cloak and get like the cloak of the Ghost Waking cloak, which would have 15 DR and Ghostly on it, but then I'd lose my insight bonus to MRR, so it's 20 I'm getting from there. It says 25, but 5 is redundant from another piece of gear, and then 45 heal amp. Gearing choices are just so tough. This is what keeps us awake at night. Still using the Concordant Opposition Bracers. So Legendary Green Steel is out right now. I haven't even made anything yet. I'm so not excited about the new Green Steel. It is better. I mean, I'm definitely, will look to replace this with a Legendary piece of Green Steel, and the stats will be better, but it's just, I'm going to get some more spell points. I'm going to have higher charisma skills, higher intelligence skills, but it's really just not that exciting to me. But maybe there's some hidden things that we don't know about yet. Still got the Circle of Malevolence. Epic Ship Kickers. This is a new item for me. And I replaced the boots from Defiler of the Just. And really I just had those boots for the dodge. And what I decided to do is just twist. I only could benefit from 3 more dodge. So I decided to just twist in Unearthly Reactions. That gives me that 3 dodge, so I'm at dodge cap. And plus 6 to my reflex saves, which is pretty cool. But really the Unearthly Reactions for me is about getting that little bit of dodge. But, I've got 5 Twists of Fate now, so why not? But, I've got this because it's, you know, it's a riposte item. It's pretty cool. It was just, you know, and I'm trying to get Mythic +4, so that could be another 4 MRR and PRR. But you could totally get random gen instead. Like something like these evasive boots of pairing. In fact, on one of my other druids, I have this same set of boots, but it also has another stat on it, and I can't remember what it was, if it was like dexterity or something else helpful. Pretty nice set of boots, so that could be my dodge and my parrying. Parrying and riposte are very similar. Parrying is basically just like the passive element of riposte. Riposte has like a guard that does damage, but then has the passive insight bonus to AC and saves. And so, nice set of boots. Still got the Gauntlets of Arcane Soldier. This is from Defiler the Just. This has some neat stats on it. Quality Spell Focus 1, Spellcraft 20, Arcane Augmentation 9. Worth mentioning that, you know, it says this item increases your caster level when casting 1st through 9th level sorcerer or wizard spells by 2. And you might think, well, that's useless on a druid. Well, working as intended, I don't know, but right now, and has been for a long time, that Arcane Augmentation works on your druid spells that are also on the sorcerer and wizard spell list. So spells like Firewall and Ice Storm and Sunburst, and there's like 4 or 5 of them. Not really that big of a deal, but wanted to mention. And Wizardry 9. Sage's Ring, just got that for potency. There are randomly generated potency items now, but I think it's only gloves, which really sucks. I'm not really happy about that. But there are some interesting things you could do, because you could get like Glaciation. They got Glaciation randomly generated up in the 160s now. So I could get like a Glaciation Ice Lore ring. It has Ice Lore like 21-22% on it. Put that there, and then put like Potency 100 on the Thunderforge instead of the Glaciation 150, because I'll get better Glaciation on a ring. But I don't have just another 30 flogs to throw around to make tier 3 again. So, you know, if I could go back and recraft this, that's what I'd do. But, you know, I don't have a million flogs in my bag. The Belt of Braided Beards, like I said, that's really about the 25% mischance. Mysterious Cloak, you know, this really isn't that big of a deal. If something, you know, totally win comes along, then I'll replace that. Epic Litany of the Dead, +2 to all stats, that's totally cool. My beloved Epic Torque, and back to Sightless. So the shield and the weapon hasn't changed in a long time. Alright, let's get to this freaking quest. So update 29 was a very humbling update for me in this build, and in fact is pretty damn painful, at least when it came to solo ability of these new quests. Voodoo can tear them up, but Ginger, you know, it took me an hour to solo Creeping Death, and I had to use all of my resources to do that. It's pretty slow going. I mean, it's kind of a slow going quest anyways, because, you know, they have sort of an anti-zerging mechanism built into it, in that you have to kill every last mob before you can open the next door to go to the next part. Ooh, here's one of the little journals. That's just an optional. Get a little extra XP if you find all the journals. And then I could not solo the other one, to Curse the Sky, because just everything in there, well, it's just Abishai everywhere. They're immune or highly resistant to all the damage types that I do. So I had a discussion on the forums about it, because I wanted to see what the other druids were doing, and so I decided to try it in Sharati, and that didn't, you know, I was thinking the procs might help, but it didn't really make a difference. And then I did it in Exalted Angel, and I was able to solo it in Exalted Angel by using the spells that you get from Exalted Angel. So I can't remember the name of them off the top of my head, but let's see what they are. So, like, yeah, Divine Wrath, Sunbolt, I mean, just those two right there. So it was a little bit slower because I had to wait for those to come off cooldown. But I was able to solo. But right now I can't imagine a scenario where I would feel like I was forced to solo Legendary Elite to Curse the Sky. And, you know, some people, you know, are upset about how sort of tough, you know, the Legendary Elites are now. You know, people are screaming, oh, I'm getting one shot. And, you know, there's a couple things that can be said about that. Now, one is that it's always the case, you know, when there's a new level cap and new content comes out like that, like, it's tough. Like, when the level cap was raised to 25, like, that stuff kicked our ass when we tried to go in there on Epic Elite. All that web flagging stuff, and High Road came out, and, you know, trying to go like that boss at the end of Epic Elite, End of the Road. Oh, that guy was just insane when that came out, you know? Or something like, you know, Epic Elite, Fall of Truth when it first came out. You know, that was really tough. As it was for me, and I think a lot of people. And so, you know, these Legendary Elites right now are, I think, are tough. They just came out, but they, you know, 6 months from now, a year from now, we'll be smoking them. You know, soloing them, just like we do now with older content. I mean, even something like Don't Drink the Water, you know, or In the Belly of the Beast. Oh my god, when that came out, it was crazy. But now I go in there and solo it, you know, under level, no problem. No problem. And another thing that can be said is, you know, when you do heroic at level Tempest Spine, especially if you're on like a first lifer, like, they will disintegrate you one shot. Yeah, I remember when I did the first life series and I did the solo Tempest Spine video. And that was, you know, when I did it like a dry run of it just to see how it would perform. You know, I didn't do the whole raid. I just went in there for the first 5 or 10 minutes just to see how it was sizing up before I started to do the video, because I knew it would be a longer video. And, you know, I got disintegrated one shot, and that's that. You know, that's not a problem. You know, that's just part of trying to do like a high-end quest at level on the highest difficulty. So, you know, for me, you know, going into Legendary Elite Tempest Spine, you know, seeing people get one shot, I don't think that's a problem. Well, I actually wasn't getting one shot by anything in there on this tune except for the boss at the end. That dude hit like a truck, sword jack. There was just no chance I had of tanking him. Just none whatsoever. But I see some of my guys are, you know, some of my guilties are in there able to survive his blows. I certainly can't on any of my tunes. So I'm at least for myself, I'm not worried about the difficulty of the Legendary Elites right now. It doesn't bother me at all. I'm glad that they're challenging. I'm glad that they feel next level. Because I think that legendary content should feel like that. And there are people that are going to say, well, it should be harder, but you shouldn't get one shot. Well, I disagree. You know, we go into a quest or raid, and, you know, our casters are one-shotting all kinds of their mobs. I think it's okay for us to get one shot once in a while. And what a difference between, you know, like when it first came out, you know, when we were still level 28, you know, in that first week we had one run and one guild run where we had like 114 deaths, you know, and we'll do it now and we'll have, you know, maybe a dozen deaths, and that's just 3 weeks after it came out. Imagine 6 months from now. Oh, I want to say hi to Riley, maybe my youngest YouTube fan. Riley is 7 years old. Hi Riley, thanks for watching. I think it's really cool that I'm such a young subscriber. That dude Fortis, by the way, who if you have your DM sound on, he's pretty funny. Because he's like, he says all kinds of funny things. Like, have some of this! But I don't have it on right now, so you can't hear it. But he hits really hard. You've done this quest, you know that you've probably seen him smack some people around. So I'm not going to keep Burst of Glacial Wrath. I just want to pick it up just to experiment a little bit, and I'll throw it here. And if you know, it's like a cone of cold. So there it did about 5,000 to 10,000 damage, and that looks pretty good. It's the best numbers I've seen, and it has a chance to freeze mobs too. It's kind of neat. Probably should keep it because I'm just gonna change it back to Empower Healing, and I probably don't really need that. I probably should let that feat go. See how much it hits Fortis for here. 1,000 it looks like. I'm not sure. It's hard to tell if that was a creeping cold number or not. See if I can isolate it. Okay, I'm gonna hit him with Cold Spray first. Now I'm gonna hit him with Burst of Glacial Wrath. Taste my Glacial Wrath. Okay, 1,000. So that seems more in line with the numbers I've kind of seen. 1,300. And to me, that's just not that exciting. I'll toss some more. The Orthon's getting tore up by it though. Okay, 1,400 compared to, okay, let's compare that. I just hit him for 10 grand with my energy burst. So, I mean, what a massive difference. I guess that's just why I'm not that excited about it. Energy burst is so much better. I mean, you can only use energy burst every 30 seconds. And this has the potential to freeze stuff, but I just don't feel like I need it. That time the Orthon only got hit by 1,600. This is the quest, by the way, that your ship kickers come from. They really need to up the experience in this quest, maybe about double it. But it is pretty short. Well, thanks for watching. If you have any questions about my videos, you can respond on YouTube. If you have any questions about my build, you can respond in the Druid forum. If you happen to be on Sarlona, you're welcome to send me a tell. Who knows why they made this thing? It's just nonsensical to me.